everybody, my name is Brett Sheldon from the Business Support Organisation, and this little intro is for the video from last night, which was the question time for businesses. It was a little bit smaller than we have had them. We started off with around about 13, 14 people, and that gradually grew as people jumped in a little bit later. So if you've not come across the question time events before, really simple format, designed just to get over the problem that in business people don't know what they don't know. And as an organisation, if people don't know what they don't know, we don't know how to ask them what they don't know. So what happened, we came across this format, or rather we developed this format well before the BSO ever got formed. I ran it at an organisation where I owned a number of franchises, went down an absolute storm face to face, and this is how we've adopted it for the virtual world. So I think there's 6 questions on this one. It actually went very, very deep at one point when we were talking about mental health within businesses, also with children and things like that. There is literally no rules to this. We just let the discussion grow, continue, but the aim is that we all chip in together to help support, give ideas, perhaps share information, and it just works. So once again, just please enjoy it. Usual BSO disclaimer, watch out, sometimes people may swear. I'm not saying anything, but tonight we had 2 culprits, Paul Lander and Martin Warrilow, but it was all in the right sense. I'm not trying to offend anybody. So anyway, enjoy the video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. So welcome to today's question time for business. A slightly smaller number, but it's a case of, for what I've been told, that's just because of the queues that are standing outside TUI at the moment, waiting for it to open. But it's obviously let's have a good meeting anyway. For Moxie's benefit, and I think this, Jason, I think this might be your first question time as well. This event works whether it's 8 people, whether it's 28 people, whether it's face to face, whether it's online. It's a nice, relaxed event. And for anybody who's watching this, so just so people are aware, we are recording this. Jack will be editing it, mainly taking out Paul's swearing. But it's we haven't got Pierre today, have we? So I don't know, Paul, are you going to be swearing today, or are you going to be on your best behaviour as soon as we've got new people on today?
I doubt and swear. I don't know where you get this bollocks from.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a case of, so what we'll be doing is obviously making sure, obviously Paul's swearing is bleeped out. So just the general rules for tonight, for, like I say, for Moxie and for Jason, it's just a very light-hearted event. It's built backwards. So it's all about trying to get engagement and people engaging together, and that's why it's been based off the questions that you've posed. We've had a total of 7 good questions. However, Val has used his before, so Val's told me he's got some other questions to jump in with just in case. Otherwise, he'll be creating a bit of a debate about the TV license again. But all it is, we've got some good business questions here, and we'll just open it up. Don't be afraid to use your raise hand function in case I miss you, but smaller numbers we should be able to be managed. So I'm conscious some people haven't met each other yet, so we're going to do a very quick introduction. So, I mean, Jason, you know the format of this now. Moxie, is this your first BSO event, full stop?
Yeah.
It is. So we don't really do elevator pitches here. But what I want to do is, I'm conscious of some people haven't met each other. So all I want to do is an 8-second introduction. So literally name your company name and what you do. Obviously, we can elaborate a little bit further as we go. So I'm going to shout out people's names. If you can just do your 8-second introduction, that'll be great. And then we'll move into the main body of the meeting. So Moxie, seeing as this is your first meeting, if we start with yourself, if we may, if you can introduce yourself.
I'm Moxie, and I animate your graphics, your logos. That's me.
Fantastic. There's some really cool stuff. I was looking when Moxie joined a couple of weeks ago. I was looking at some of the animation, some really nice stuff. So Liz, over to you.
I'm Liz from Woodshire's Business Solutions, and we help businesses get money back on R&D and other tax incentives.
Brilliant. Val?
Val Jones with Vital U, and we give people health and well-being products.
Brilliant. Mr. Goss?
Good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. John Cost, Managing Director of JC Cybersecurity Services, and we defend, protect, and secure your business from those nasty cyber criminals.
Brilliant. Martin?
Oh, I knew you were going to say that just as I was writing.
Okay, well,
Martin the Warrior Warlow from Warrior Community Initiatives, and I scare people by educating them about stroke and stress.
brilliant. Vicky Harrison-Edwards.
Vicky from Chameleon Acupuncture and Wellness, and I do acupuncture.
Brilliant. And children who do nakedness and destroying of hoovers and walls.
Well, it doesn't hoover their walls.
Me? I don't. Okay. First question: Who here hoovers walls? Only Vicky. And Michelle.
When there's spiders and cobwebs, just get the hoover. Got you little bugger.
That's hoovering spiders and cobwebs, not walls.
Oh.
Jason.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't hoover walls. No, Jason, from Hyperserve Web Hosting. So we provide web hosting for small businesses and individuals, and get them with the friendly face of Hippo, and get around all the technical nonsense associated with it.
Brilliant. Michelle?
Michelle, the Geek Coach and the Tech Leader Academy, creating IT leaders that build and inspire.
Fantastic. Vicky Lovegrove?
Vicky from 73 Design, graphic design, particularly brand identity, and I'm also a creative coach.
Brilliant. Mr. Pulferman?
Dean Palferman, Primal Nutrition and Fitness. So I get people fit and healthy through real food and real movement.
Brilliant. Mr. Lander?
Orlando, Zekro Web Solutions, multi-award winning. We can get your email pinging and your phone ringing with inquiries from your website.
Fantastic. And finally, Jo, who looks like she might be having an argument with Gary.
Very noisy, very rude.
Is he?
Anyway, Jo Watkins, Q6 IT. We provide IT managed services to your business.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So that's the end of my teacher duties. I mean, we'll have to have a milk monitor at some point. So we'll go to the main part of the meeting tonight, and we'll go straight into the questions. There's no particular order, but there's been a couple of very nice ones on here. So I'm going to go to Mr. Koss first today. And Mr. Koss, do you remember your question?
I always do.
Good lad. If you'd like to read out your question.
Of course. So we've all got business processes. Are you automating any business processes? And if so, what and how are you automating them?
Great question. Great question to start. So who would like to jump in? I mean, people who've not been on this before, it is literally people jump in, and if people don't, I pick on people, which is kind of nice. So
we automate loads of stuff. So it's when someone gets a proposal from us and they can accept it online. Well, they've got to accept it online and sign it digitally. Once they've done that, their details then shoot through to our CRM. The CRM picks it up and sends them an automatic invoice out. Then once they've paid the invoice, it triggers a notification to start the onboarding process. So they get an email with links to our client questionnaire. So when they fill the client questionnaire out, it then pings another system to get them to send us extra details that we need. Once they've filled all the details out, then they get pinged another step in the process. So when someone does a site with us, it literally automates the communication with them from start to finish.
Brilliant, fantastic, great use of automation. Has anybody, just out of curiosity, not heard of automation on here?
So I've got a quick question for Paul.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
What are you using to do that automation?
Okay, so for our proposals, we use a system called Better Proposals, and that we try not to use Zapier or Zapier, whatever you call it, too much. We use Integromat as well. So anything
what was that, Paul?
Integromat. Well, there's Integromat. There's also PieSync. PieSync we've had for ages, and the great thing is they've just been acquired by HubSpot. So if anything's got a native integration in already, that's great. It works really well. So that's what we tend to use. If we like using APIs, but for those who aren't confident using APIs or webhooks, then yeah, pick up something like Integromat, PySync, Zapier to do your links in between your software, because the hardest thing is getting one to talk to the other. It's just, if they don't and you're not technical, it will be impossible for you. So try and find, when you're choosing software to do automations from, try and look for ones that have already got a lot of integrations to other software in, or at the very least, they've got a Zapier plugin.
Yep, brilliant. John, can I ask you a quick question? Why have you asked the question?
Yeah, so part of my New Year resolution, and as part of my task of trying to spend less time working in the business but working on the business, I'm trying to automate 95% of my business. And if you could see the board behind me, I look like a crazy, insane Russian man that's investigated Paul Lander, because I'm trying to link everything into my business and seeing exactly what I can automate. So I was just interested in hearing what people are currently automating to see if I've missed anything.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, we've had another couple of hands raised. Michelle, you raised your hand. So did Vicky, and Jason's just raised his. I mean, John, you know that we automate, and I'll explain automation, what we do. We'll go to Michelle first.
I put my hand up to ask Paul a follow-on question.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if there was jumping in for something else, so we go to Vicky.
Yeah, I've heard of Better Proposals. I was sort of contemplating using that myself. So can you just link that to that Xero then?
It hasn't got a Xero integration, but it has got its own API, and you can link Zapier to it. Better Proposals is really, really good. It lacks in a few places, though, to speed up your process. Like if you try and, because the main thing on Better Proposals that you concentrate your efforts on are the menu system in terms of your menu of services and or products. It saves the headline, but it doesn't tend to save the body of it. Or the price that you set it at. So it's good, but it kind of some areas lacking. We've been playing around with fresh proposals as well, and also one that I used for years and years and years, and we still pay for it and we still use it occasionally. Is Quote Roller by PandaDoc, and that is. Although it needs a little bit of an update, they've got a sister system that looks a little bit snappier. So you might want to take a look at those. But Better Proposals works really well. I like Better Proposals because it's got integrated into it. It's got a Facebook ad tracker. So it's got so you can put the proposal can follow your prospect around the internet for very little money. So it's worth looking at just for that.
Right. So we go to Jason next. Jason, you got your hand raised?
I was just saying that when I started the business, my big thing was to make it as automated as possible, and just everything linked in together and do it working as one. So what happens with me now, if someone signs up on our website for some web hosting, they create an account, they choose the package, they pay, it sets up the account on the server, it sends out the invoices or the payment receipt all automatically. It then talks to Xero and puts everything to Xero. I get an email saying it's happened and happy days if it's all going well. And there's ticket systems and support systems built into that. So it's great. But it was a very conscious effort right from the start. That's what I was going to do. And it was much easier for me to do it that way than try and then get a system in place and add it on. I've been having a bit of a battle at the moment I've got just started to use Asana for project and task management. And just getting that to talk to everything has just been a little bit hard, but I bolted it on afterwards, and so that was a bit of a stress, wasn't it?
No, it's trust me, Jason, it'll get more stressful as the company develops and gets. We're going through a few little pains at the moment. For those who haven't seen the comments, Val has already jumped up and said he prefers indecent proposals. I think that's slightly different. But you know what? I'm no expert when it comes to these kind of things. Everybody knows I'm young and innocent. I mean, I've got no idea what he's talking about. For those who don't know it too well, we use, John, as you know, an awful lot of automation within the BSO, and everybody on here would have seen it. Every member who joins, we use Zapier a lot. So our client experience starts in the automation process on joining. So we use a system called Jotform. to create the forms. That links up to, the reason we used to use that is it was a very good form to use with Stripe at the time. Very intuitive on that point when we first launched the BSO 3 years ago. Zapier then links directly from, oh, by the way, and Jotform links directly to Stripe. There's no Zapier link, so it's seamless on there. We use Zapier then to connect it to ActiveCampaign. ActiveCampaign is the system that sends out your renewal notices. It'll send out your onboarding processes. So Moxie, the email that you responded to the other day saying that it was lovely to actually have a follow-up off the back of it. You said, yes, I know it's an automated email. That was all generated within their workflows. It sends things off to Victoria to go and get done now. And everything works within ActiveCampaign. But at the time of joining, we also use Zapier to send things like your details to a Gmail file. So your details go into that immediately. So as soon as everything happens there, it sends everything off to Xero as well. What else do we use? Something else. I think that's it at the moment. But literally everything works off there. If it wasn't for automation, the BSO couldn't have started. It would cost us too much money in admin. I mean, it even creates things from the renewal process. It starts off all the automations, that first trigger, and all it is a tag. That first tag triggers everything, including your Monday morning emails. So your Monday morning email does get filled out on a Monday morning by me. And if I don't fill it out, it sends you last week's Monday morning email. So you get it whether you like it or not. So, so Martin, you've raised your hand there?
I raised my hand because you said there about the Monday morning emails are all automated.
Yep.
And it is much appreciated that you say this is an automated email. I haven't just sent it you out of the blue. I do know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a case of everything in there it's all very strategic of it. I mean, we send it at 11 o'clock as well to let you get into the day. I could send it at 8 o'clock, but how many emails do you have first thing of a Monday morning?
Yeah.
So it is done purposely that way. We'll finish this point now with Joe. Joe, you've raised your hand. I'm just going to let Lee into the room. If we can have a round of applause for Lee when he gets in.
When you're right, there is. Yes, so automation-wise, we do use a lot of automation of regards to the IT. We have a PSA system which it manages all the IT tickets that come in. So we can log everything, and that breaks us down and gives fully automated reports for our clients. And that then feeds through to our RMM system, which basically we can remote monitor all the client's computers, so we can roll out anything that we need to. John's nodding his head, he's familiar with those. And then that will all feed through to our financial system as well. And we've got kind of a bolt-on system called IT Glue, which basically pulls out all of that together. And actually kind of gives us a real picture, an overall picture of our clients. We can put in a lot of documentation within that, rather than sort of having that stored in different areas on the system. It's all, every client's got kind of a full, so whoever's working on a particular client can get access to everything, and you can split security levels as well. So it's nice that we can limit from a direct point of view to a contract point of view to the employee as to who has access to see what permissions. So there's a lot more that we can do with it. But it's kind of making it work for us, and you can overcomplicate things, but it's great. There's lots of API in there where we can actually link other software in as and when it's necessary. So yeah, it's going well so far.
Brilliant, fantastic. So apologies there for people who didn't have no idea what we were talking about for the last 10 minutes, but it's a case of John, hopefully that's helped a little bit.
Yeah, it was more to get people talking about automation and see what they're doing.
Yep, absolutely. So we're going to move on to a question now from Moxie. So Moxie, you've actually posted, once again, it was only a short question, but I think it's a very good one. Would you like to read out your question, Moxie?
I cannot remember what it was.
Moxie, come on.
Was it to do with marketing, social media versus websites?
It's yes, basically, yeah. It's a case of it's okay, Moxie. It's a standing joke when new members come on board. They post a question and forget about it completely. Yeah. So it's not a problem at all. It's a case of your question was quite simply, what's more important, a website or social media presence?
Website.
So John said website. Vicky's on website.
Yeah,
Anybody?
website as well.
In the room.
My sort of question is, the social media is where you get engagement from people, whereas the website, you don't tend to have that interaction so much. And I know you can funnel them in, but surely, I don't know what the answer is, but surely with social media, this is where you can start actually talking to people.
It's a great question, Moxie, because it's all, sometimes as well. This is one of these chicken and egg questions. Yeah, I mean, certainly from a social media perspective, you need to know what you're pointing them towards, and you have to point them towards something. But you can have a killer website. If you don't know how to drive traffic to it, you'll get no visitors anyway, so it's a waste of time having it.
The website is the fulcrum of your online presence. It acts as the convincer. It shows credibility, and as well, if someone wants to kick you off one of their platforms, like for example, I've got a client of mine who heavily relies on Amazon. Amazon decided to kick them off, and all of a sudden, because they failed to concentrate a lot more on their website, they've lost 90% of their business, and there's no chance that they'll ever get back on Amazon. So you've got to think of this way: if a social media platform decides to kick you off, you've lost all kind of control to communicate with your prospects and clients.
But if you collected their emails independently of the website, so I don't know, through MailChimp, it's just a question, you still, I'm not disagreeing with you, but you still have got, a list of people.
You can contact them, but how often are you going to contact them before they start to unsubscribe and feel annoyed by you? Whereas your website is there 24/7, it's up all the time, and people can go and visit you there rather than you having to be proactive to keep on messaging them.
Yeah, great points. I'm going to go to some people who raised their hands. Dean, your hand was raised first, then we'll go to Jason. Dean?
Yeah, just a quick one for me, because I'm no expert in this field of things, but would anybody say it's business specific? So for me, from a personal training nutrition point of view, what would be more important to get that feed? Is my website more important than my social media stuff? Or depending on the business, what is more important?
It's a great question. I mean, I'll jump in a second, but we'll go to, actually, my view on this is before website or social media presence or email campaign or knocking on doors, cold calling, whatever it may be, you need to have a plan first. It's a case of you have to have an idea of what you want to try and achieve and build towards that. If you haven't got the plan, it's the same as when we talked about automation earlier. You can have automation, but you need to know what you're trying to achieve with it. It's you need to know what you're trying to achieve in the first place. So, for instance, with us, we wasn't bothered about our social media presence for 2.5 years. But purely, it's not from an external perspective. It's only internal. We were conscious of it. But the website was important not because we were driving traffic to it, because if anybody was checking us out, we needed to have a presence for people to have a look at. But in reality, our route to market, which I think this is the question you're actually asking here, Moxie, more than anything, is what's more important? Is this from a business generation perspective?
Yeah, but I'd say it's from a relationship perspective too.
Yeah. So for ours, it was actually knowing how we were going to interact with clients and how we were going to steer people in the first place. The website for us is our brochure. So we needed that in place to start things off, but it wasn't critical what we're driving to it or anything. It's still not as important at the moment. We're now going through that process. Jason, we'll go to you next, then we'll go to Martin.
I think the important thing about a website over social media, and I think both complement each other massively, and depending on type of business, they complement each other in different ways. But I think the thing about the website is, it alludes to what Paul was saying, is you have control over it. It's your thing. It belongs to you. Whereas Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg has control over it. For example, my Facebook page today, suddenly the way I share things has changed. The button moved, and it took me ages to find it. Now on my website, I know where my stuff is. If I want to move something around, I'd make that decision, not Mark Zuckerberg, not Jeff Bezos. They are in control of your business essentially, if they, as like you said before, if they decide to take you off or ban you for whatever reason, I'm not allowed to put links to my shop because I run a because I sell stuff online, but I run a digital service. I'm not allowed to sell stuff via Facebook because it's not a tangible object. So that prevents me from using it in that way. So I have to direct people to my site from where they need to purchase via links and posts. So it's just the element of control, having control over your business and where you're and the direction you're going.
Yeah, once again, great points. John, you're absolutely right. I love Jeff Bezos. That's the reason why he's resigned from Amazon, because he knows I'm coming after him. I mean, for those who don't know me, it's a case of, yes, me and Amazon do not get on. However, unbeknown to me the other day, my future father-in-law ordered something to actually come to this address. Found out and told me it was Brave, but it did arrive. But they literally dropped it on the floor, rang the doorbell and ran off. Before I got to the front door, that actually was already in the van to go back off again. So I'm still not happy with Amazon. Anyway, Martin, over to you.
I get more unexpected connections and links through my website than I do through all of my social media stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Any reason for that, Martin?
Because I've got a website.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, a website, it's like the old, if we go back 30, 40 years, it's like having the shop front. Your website is your shop front, and it adds to your credibility. Yeah. If people want to buy services, let's say there's you and a competitor, and you both do exactly the same thing. And one of the things that they're going to be looking for is social proof. They're going to be looking for other people saying good things about you. And they're going to also be looking to see what your website looks like for other information to find the convincer to use you. If you haven't got a website and your competitor has, then I'll put money on it that they'll use the competitor.
Yeah.
If your competitor has got an absolutely awful website, let's say that, and I might offend a few people, let's say they've done it themselves. They've done a DIY job, because most DIY jobs I've seen are awful. And the competitor's got a really fantastic looking website. They'll go with the competitor because they've got a really fantastic looking website.
It is true. So it's Moxie. It's a case. I think you've opened a can of worms with this one. It's a case of there's no right, or there's no. There probably is right and wrong, but I think it's based on circumstance. I mean, with Dean, you can be booked out completely solidly without a website because of the nature of how you get your business and how it works with word of mouth. But if you had, well, obviously you have got a website, but with a website, it'll help you more. But if you can only have one, depends on the industry. Depends on the industry.
So glad I'm having my website redesigned, because, as you know, it's dreadful.
It's I've seen worse. I've seen a lot worse.
Do you know what? Today, someone showed me a website from a company of solicitors based in London, and I was asked my opinion on this website, and I said, it looks absolutely awful. It needs redoing. They had their website done 18 months ago and spent 20,000 on this website from an agency in London that I got this third party, because I do development for graphic designers. The graphic designer contacted me saying, this agency wants us to do another website because 20 grand was spent on this one and it looks awful. And you've just got to be careful on who you go to and what they're going to do for you.
I mean, I know to somebody, and this is somebody outside the BSO, some people will know who the person is, and it will remain nameless. They have started charging $5 grand for their websites. I wouldn't spend 50 quid on their website. But the reason they've started charging $5 grand, because a business coach saying you need to increase your prices to according. But honestly, the standard, unless the standard of their work has really improved over the last couple of 3 years, it's a case of you could actually build a Wix site better.
I've got a client who has a friend who runs a London agency who, for a favour, did their website and branding and charged them 15 grand. And was not a favour. I had to break it to him, you know, how grossly overcharged he'd been. Where he's clearly been sold something that's not much better than Squarespace or Wix. And it's just like shocking, absolutely shocking.
You know what? We've done sites for 10, 15, 20, 25 grand. And the biggest one we were part of was 152 grand. That's the biggest one we've ever been part of. But there was 2 other developers and 2 designers. That ended up being absolutely amazing. It was a huge, and I mean, this was a monster of a site. This company turns over billions. So to them, it was a drop in the ocean, and everything you've got to put into context. This was a massively complex site, was beautiful, but then we've done sites for 2 grand, which have been equally as impressive. And everything's got to be put into context. But there are some people out there who are charging 5-10 grand and who are giving 500 quid value, not the 5-10 grand that people have spent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is a conversation all on its own. We could run an entire evening just on this. So we're going to move on that one. Moxie, hopefully that has helped a little bit. Probably more than anything has helped to say, yes, it is a very confusing area to discuss. But if you ever need to have a chat, feel free to give me a call. Feel free to reach out to anybody on here. I mean, this is the beauty of this format, is that if there's anything that strikes a nerve with somebody, people want to reach out. You've all got the delegate lists. Feel free just to basically reach out, make contact, ask questions. That's what it's all about. But hopefully, Moxie, that's helped you a little bit there.
Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to move on to the third. Hi, Lee. How you doing? Great to see you. Phil Horrod did just jump on and then jumped off immediately. I don't know who we looked at and scared him, but hopefully it's not me. I've had my hair cut now, so I'm much prettier. Oh, by the way, has anybody noticed anything that's different in the background? Those who've been regular. Anybody notice anything that's different?
You got rid of your Christmas scene finally.
I got rid of the Christmas scene, yes. I got rid of that a while ago, Paul.
Sideboards disappeared.
The sideboards disappeared, correct. So we're now into a position that we're now shifting stuff to the new house. We haven't got any further forward again dates, but Emma's decided, by the way, that stuff's going to be going now. So we have no sideboards left in the house now. So the new living room is looking really nice, but we still can't really move in yet. So, okay, so we're going to go on to the next question now. There's some really nice questions. Paul, I'm going to go to your question today. I like this question. So, Paul, over to you.
Yeah, it was something about pricing. Do you want to read it, Brett? I'll let you read it.
Are you trying to say you've fallen for the school by error and you forgot what your question was?
I remember vaguely, but I don't want to really mess it up. Not especially if it's been recorded.
It's definitely been recorded, but I'm quite impressed you still haven't swore yet or talked about Clubhouse or anything. But it's a case of...
Oh, God, don't. Not Clubhouse.
To be fair, for those who are actually on here, it wasn't actually that. One of the first meetings we recorded, we had to cut a 10-minute spell out. Just for the fact of trying to keep Paul out of court, I think it was. But anyway, so the question was, really nice question. How did you come up with your pricing structure, and do you advertise your prices online? And if not, why not? Great question. Great question. So would anybody like to start off with this one? I'm going to go to Jason because I know the answer on this one. But Jason.
Well, initially, I made the big mistake of just doing the market research and pricing as low as I could, and that was a big mistake. And then I was talking to a couple of business coaches and things. They say, "Well, you shouldn't be doing that. You're actually offering more, and you've got a different USP, so you can offer more." And the budget sites have a budget feel to them, so it's sort of going halfway. So yes, I do put stuff online. It's a definite pricing structure for various different groups, and I basically set aside 4 core groups. And the core groups are the personal individual user for your blog, your blogger, your sort of individual. I've got a couple of budding actors with a sort of showreel site as an individual. The next group I set up was a little bit more unique, and it's for your sort of community groups, your dance schools, your karate clubs, your rambling societies. I've just actually got an email from a local choir who wants something setting up on their website and some hosting for them. And that's specific because they get quite a lot of visitors, but they don't want a business package because they're not making a profit. So it's a separate thing just for a community group. And then there's the sort of small businesses, the e-commerce businesses, and then extra things for large businesses. It's just discrete groups, nice and simple. Keep it that there.
Cool. Let's go to somebody else who's been. I think somebody who's been quite quiet, but probably a difficult one for them to answer. Liz, so let's go to yourselves.
You were going to say that. Well, we don't put our prices on the website purely because ours is kind of commission based. So we kind of talk to the client about that, and it's negotiable. So it's not something that we tend to put. Well, we don't put on the website. So yeah, I can't really. That's a difficult question for me to answer on that one. To be fair.
It's. I mean, obviously, I know obviously how you guys price, and obviously, I kind of knew.
Yeah, but then I think even setting the commission level. Again, it's all down to the size of the client, you know, because our average, we say the first initial couple of years, it's like 20 to 25% because there's normally more work involved. Yeah. But, you know, we've just signed up a large electrical company, turnover 30 million. There is absolutely no way we're going to charge 25% commission on their benefit because that, as much as, you know, we'd love to, but we, you know, that's just ludicrous. So that's where, you know, we then perhaps set a cap any companies over a certain size, you know, because we also, you know, we don't want to look, well, we're not greedy. So it is always negotiable.
Yeah. Another great answer. So two different ends of the spectrum. Paul, can I ask you why you've asked this question?
Yeah, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and from our perspective, it seems like a lot of business owners are scared about putting prices on the website because they think the competition will try and undercut them by looking at their prices or try and do something else. But we put on the My Web Pal site are all our prices. We don't hide them. It shows everything in packages. And on the new Zecro site that's going to launch soon, will show prices starting from. There won't be specific. We don't do packages at Zecro. It's bespoke build, so it will be from £3,000, and that will be echoed throughout the site because the argument was that someone was worried again that all the competitor will come in and kind of try and use the prices to slate them. And I said to this person, I says, well, what will look worse on them trying to nick your stuff or slating you in front of one of their clients. I said, and don't worry. And I think having prices on your website acts as a bit of a pre-qualifier for clients, and it will wheedle out the ones who just aren't your target market. So that's my thought. Yeah.
So I think it's a great question because it all depends on markets. It depends on where you are. Vicky, you just raised your hand.
Yeah, I don't put prices on my website, but I have an inquiry form, and part of that form asks you how much your budget is, and there is a minimum. So people shouldn't get from that if they're looking for a £50 logo, they're not going to find one here, you know, because it all depends on, for me, it depends on the size of the organisation, how many people are going to be looking at the design and making a decision on it, on whether I think the job is priced at the right level. Dealing with one person is easier than having 10 directors, which I have worked with, all chipping in on a job. They're not going to get it for the price of one director making a decision, because of the to in and throw in. So it's a project basis, and it's price dependent on how many cooks are involved, basically.
That's fair enough. No, that's fair enough. Like I said, I think it's a good question because it varies depending on the industry you're in. It depends on what you're selling. I mean, Val, you guys obviously when you start talking about the coffee, the tea, the supplements, etc., you're selling to retail at that point. So it's fixed price product.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but by law it has to be.
Yeah.
Is the answer to that. So if you're selling something to people on a, you know, that is a product, by law you have to display your pricing, including VAT.
With ours, I mean, we obviously, I mean, Moxie, you're obviously a relatively new member. I know you checked out our website. I presume you checked out the pricing.
No.
You didn't? No, I knew I could have charged more. No, I could have charged more.
No, Richard told me. Richard.
Oh, Richard already told you. Okay. Okay, cool. We put ours on there. I mean, I've just designed a new pricing matrix because the pricing for new members is going up soon. So yeah, I mean,
do you know what? I've got a little task for everyone to do, but you've got to have Google Analytics or some way of tracking page views. Create a new page on your website, call it pricing, and put some sort of price on there. Even if it says from, a list of your services and from, and you don't put specific pricing, do a pricing page, and over the course of a month, see how many hits your pricing page gets. And then you'll be able to see how important having a pricing page is. Not only that, you need to check what kind of your conversion rates are to inquiries as well from your pricing page. Right. So that's a bit of a task for everyone to do.
I think I would say another great point, and I think the comment there, Michelle's put in the comments there, it's just giving you an idea. Is that right?
Absolutely. So I was always wondering, so for those of you that know me, it's the Geek Coach and the Tech Leader Academy, and they both have their own separate websites. On the Tech Leader Academy, I publish my prices because that's a cost per seat, as it were. Whereas with the coaching, it is very dependent on what the issue is for which kind of package they need and all the rest. So I like Paul's statement about using the prices from, and I'm going to take that away and actually apply that to those three packages. Business packages, I can't do that because it is entirely negotiable depending on what the issues are.
Yeah.
But certainly for the three coaching packages that I've got there, that would absolutely work. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, this is how this is what it's all about. So, Paul, great question. It's yeah, like it. So okay, so we're going to go on to another one of the questions on here. Not the TV license question, Val. We're not going to go for that one. It's you created an uproar last time. You've not got
a Brexit question there.
There is a Brexit question, but
or a COVID question.
I have.
It's actually no. You know what? I like this one because it's just going to create debate. So the question is, I'm not going to tell anybody, and people are not allowed to vote whether it's a Brexit question or not. So Lee, you're not allowed to vote, and Dean, you're not allowed to vote. But who here, put your hand up if you want Lee's question. Leave your hands down if you want Dean's question. So we'll go through. I'll count you in 3, 2, 1. Raise your hand for Lee's. Keep your hand down if you want Dean. Sorry, which way around is that? Up for Lee's, down for Dean's. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 7. And how many? So okay, right. It looks like we're going for Lee's question then now. Right. Okay. Well done, Lee. Do you want to give him your Brexit question? Not Brexit. Sorry, is it not Brexit? COVID question.
It's a COVID. Well, COVID per se.
Sorry.
I think it was along the lines of: would you refuse or turn down work if the person or organisation that it was linked to were refusing to have the vaccination?
Well, I mean, I was kind of getting worried there, Lee, thinking you only actually posted that this morning. And I think, hang on a second, he's forgotten it already. But yeah, basically the question is, would you refuse to do business with a person or company whose moral compass points to refusing the COVID vaccination? Great one for debate. Michelle, you got your hand raised?
Yeah, what are their, it's all risk for me. So I'd be asking the questions of what precautions have you got in place, because we've been living without vaccine for 12 months. And then I understand whether everybody's hugging and kissing each other in the office or whether they're suitably spaced and using sanitizer, and then consider the risk.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you've picked up exactly my mindset there, Michelle, on the fact that now that everybody's sort of like, the vaccine is the savior of the world, people are going to relax their measures, aren't they? So the ones that aren't taking up the vaccination precautions, it could expose so much more risk. Yeah, absolutely.
What's the problem if you've had the vaccination and your business has had the vaccination? What is the problem if someone else hasn't? If someone hasn't had the MMR or measles vaccine, we don't know about it, and we don't worry. It's mitigating the risk that we have. It's very, very dangerous, far more dangerous to get into a car with somebody than it is to be near someone. I mean, I've actually had my vaccine. For some reason, they're giving them to 40-year-olds in Kenilworth. I was very offended when they offered it me, exceptionally. I thought, what's wrong with me? But no, but they're giving it out. And it's great. I have no problem with it. But if I've had it and someone hasn't, no problem. I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to be able to pass it on. They've shown that the element of passing it on is been significantly reduced if you've taken a vaccine. And it's all about developing that herd immunity. It's like with measles, some people can't have the measles vaccine for whatever reason, but as long as a good proportion of the population has, we're okay.
I think it's one of those awkward ones that dependent upon the industry. If it's proven that it is really reducing transmission rates off the back of it, and you're in an environment that relies heavily on human connection, and the company says, no, we're not having it at all. In other words, could be potentially increasing spreads. That could be dodgy grounds. I don't know. It's a case of, I think litigation culture will probably sort it out eventually. But Michelle?
I've got another question. If you're refusing to work with someone that's had the COVID vaccine, would you refuse to work with someone that had the flu vaccine or hadn't had the flu vaccine?
Good point. Yeah.
Lee, you've started. I mean, you've started something now, Lee.
Yeah.
And what people don't tend to realise is that the viruses do not like to kill people. It's the worst thing they can do. Any parasite wants to keep its host alive as possible. COVID will become, I mean, we've all had COVID before. We've all had a COVID virus. The common cold is COVID. And so it doesn't do us any harm anymore. When it first came along, it probably did. And we have to develop build up our own immunity, whether by vaccine or whether by meeting or catching it, whatever that means, in order for that to happen, in order for it to mutate into a less harmful form. Otherwise, we will be stuck with these critical, these peaks and troughs forever if we don't do that.
Right. Do you know what? It will come down to why they aren't having the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's because they think you're being tracked by 5G, as opposed to something else, then I would say no, I wouldn't do business with that company, because I think we all have a responsibility for the greater good to protect and help our fellow man above all else. Because if we haven't, then why are we here?
I think
by protecting the greater good, what about the young people? I mean, they're having a horrific time at the moment. I mean, 100,000 people are not getting cancer treatment because to save, that's going to be an equal catastrophe as the COVID catastrophe. And they're young people, workers, people with families, young families.
I think what we'll do, we'll park this question there because Lee started a moral debate that, to be fair, the BSO rules state that you need to be prepared to have fun, and this is not a fun question, Lee.
It's going to start to get political as well, Brett.
Also down to allow political correctness. Lee,
in my defence, the reason I pose this question is that I do have a client who will remain nameless, and the people I'm involved with, they are of a senior age who are absolutely, there's no way I'm having a vaccine, no way. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I mean, the chances are I'm probably not going to have the vaccination until May, June, July, perhaps with my age. So I'm just thinking, well, they should have probably already had their vaccinations already. And the fact that they're not is potentially putting me more at risk than...
This sounds really, really silly. I mean, after I volunteered, I mean, I've filled the form out and just sent it off, but I've already agreed to volunteer. I don't know if people know this, but if you actually volunteer, you get your jab anyway, regardless of age.
Right.
Just a general thing on this. If people say,
is that why you're volunteering then?
no,
Now we know.
it's the reason I volunteered is because I'm sick of these four walls. I want to go out, apart from to Asda. So I'd rather go out and actually help things, also for the greater good. Okay, so we got a wedding in the end of August. I want to make sure we get as many of these people vaccinated as we can, because we're more likely to have it. Anyway, Lee, it's your fault entirely for posing the question, and everybody who voted for Lee's question, you're equally to blame. So therefore, it's a case. So we're going to move on to Dean's question now. So Dean, would you like to go read out your question?
Yeah, no problem. So it is kind of COVID linked, but not quite as in depth. So, but more of a back thought than a forward thought. So has lockdown made you think more about your physical and mental health? What have you done about it, and what do you plan to do about it in the future?
Good question. Good question.
I'm going to keep lockdown regardless of whether we need to or not. I love it.
Hang on, Paul. We're going to go to Vicky first. Vicky's raised a hand.
Shall I tell you what I did, Dean? First lockdown, I was doing Joe Wicks with the kids. Then I bought Joe Wicks's package and I was doing Joe Wicks. And it was great because I was going to come out of lockdown feeling healthier. And then we went back in it. And no way was I going to repeat what I did for the first few months again, because it's like Groundhog Day. So I've stopped. Right. And that's what I've done.
It's the problem with Joe Wicks.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. But I cannot. I get bored easily. So I cannot do the same thing over and over and over again ad infinitum with two kids who were bored as well. So it's just that's what happened to me. But mental health wise, yeah, it's horrible seeing my kids, my youngest especially. She's 6 and she's completely falling down a rabbit hole at the moment. But that's part of the reason I've sort of started learning a technique called havening, and so I've been doing havening with people, and that's really helping a lot of people. And I'm starting to try and get my youngest to do it as well, because it will help her mental health as well. I think mental health is the key thing.
I think that's the massive one with this second lockdown has been the big one. A lot of my clients I've been speaking to, some who I haven't seen prior to lockdown actually, because they can't come to the gym, are actually coming back now from a place of they need help, just from the nutritionist perspective, because suddenly things have gone totally astray. Everybody's found it so much more difficult this time around. I'm finding that a lot.
I mean, Dean, I'm happy for you just there. I mean, I'm one of those. I mean, me and Dean had this conversation, hence the reason why I agreed to go into the volunteering. Basically, to give me something different to do to get out, because I can't, well, up until about a month's time, I'm about to play golf and things again. There is nothing I can do apart from go to Asda or perhaps go for a walk around Wednesbury, which is not probably the safest thing to do at night. So, yeah, so from my perspective, yeah, from a mental health perspective, yeah, it's making me think about things. It really is. It's something I always took a little bit more for granted in one of those. But does anybody else want to jump in onto this?
Can I ask what the question is, please? Good evening, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, hi Richard. Yeah, good for you to jump on. So the question was quite simply this: he was asking for a bit of Dean was asking for a bit of feedback. Has lockdown made you consider you and your staff's health and mental health more? And what have you done about it?
I've been asking something. Forgive me butting in, ladies and gentlemen, but I've been asking this sort of or a similar question in a number of network groups. Because especially from students' point of view, because 1 in 3 students are suffering from depression or stress, and a lot. Dean may bear me out on this one. There's also a lot of people are putting a lot of weight on as well because of we're being isolated.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's something which goes obviously without saying on that. Does anybody else want to jump in on this? I mean, Vicky's put their perspective, I put mine. Liz?
I'm jumping in. So for me, I mean, I've always liked to think that I was quite active, but to be honest, it's kind of, it has gone to a whole other level since I've been in lockdown, and I think people are getting fed up with my challenges. However, I live on my own. My family live kind of 45 minutes away. So for me to get out every day and have a walk or do something has massively helped. And actually it's interesting with my colleagues who aren't doing anything, they're not getting out, they're literally just, there is quite a difference sometimes in their energy when we have our catch-up calls or how they're feeling about it. And as daft as it sounds, I no longer do like a weekly shop because I buy an item or a couple of items every day because it gives me a purpose to go out. Because if I didn't, then I probably would sit in all day and have the four walls and just be on my own. So I try and pick the furthest supermarket in the city centre to go and to give me a good kind of walk. And it does always I'm not sleeping very well at the moment, I'll be honest. But so I'm getting up and I'm out walking at 6:30. But once I've done the walk, it does make me feel so much better. So from my point of view, it's definitely ramped up. Actually to a point now that I'm thinking I'm going to be spending more time exercising than actually working, which could be a problem. But yeah, it's certainly it's made me become more aware of my mental health. And I notice a difference when I haven't gone out and done as much. I'm really low. So for me, it's pretty much it's a case of I have to get out every day for my own sanity.
Brilliant. Well, another great point. Joe, you raise your hand.
Yeah, I think it's it's true what they say. We keep saying, we're all in the same boat, but actually we're not. We're all in the same storm, but everybody's in different boats. Our business model is working from home anyway, so it's kind of from that point of view, it's business as usual. We've got obviously a bit of children struggling. We've got a 16 and 17-year-old. My 16-year-old, she's out every day. She's got she's feeling the stress, I think, of being online all day at college. She's in front of that computer, 3 days a week from 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock, and it's intensive, but she's been brilliant. She forces herself, she makes herself go out for a walk every day for at least an hour. We have, I've got a horse that needs exercise, so for welfare, I need to go out for that. So that's my sanity. So I'm really fortunate. We've got 7 dogs that have got to be walked. So from that point of view, we have to go out, and out and about. But, kind of office, I think it still feels though like it is a bit of Groundhog Day. I think because psychologically, you can't go out. I think therefore the more you crave the fact that you want to go out. But I say in the office, working from home anyway, and as I say, that's our business model. It's business as usual, but it doesn't make it any easier. I think kind of knowing that you can't. So I certainly feel for people that kind of used to being out and about. I think the networking and things like that is also a struggle, although kind of these Zooms and things like that are connecting people better. I think the technology's been amazing, and the companies have embraced it over the lockdown, but physically and mentally for people. I know Gary's doing some work with Dean and that, and just have a bit of focus. You need to force yourself to have a focus. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to June, when hopefully, because we're very kind of huggy people as well, and we've got lots of friends also we can't see, or we perhaps we drive by and wave, and that kind of things, and when we've been able to. But that's kind of what our longing is actually that kind of social connection, because we lost my mum. I lost my mum in October, so not being able to kind of go out and kind of really kind of share that grief with the family has been a real struggle. But yeah, fingers crossed, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We've just got to be a little bit more patient and be sensible for a little bit longer, and fingers crossed, we'll all get it. But I think it's kind of has its silver linings in some sense, in terms of a lot of people perhaps really absolutely love working from home. And it's been far better for work-life balance, etc. But so we're all on this journey, and it's a very individual journey.
Can I add one other element to the question, Brett, if that's all right?
Yeah,
having heard people talk that through, obviously everyone's in different situations, and that's why it makes such a varied answer realistically. But with moving forward in the future, if you haven't really done anything so far within lockdown to improve your health or keep yourself mentally sane, what are your thoughts actually as we come out of lockdown? Are you going to go back to where you maybe were doing nothing, or doing what you were doing, or have you got other plans in place? Actually thinking, well, we could go into lockdown again in another 12 months. Touch wood, we won't, but we could. What are we going to do about it then? Because we really need, with everything, I think business included, we all need to be planning ahead of what we should be doing for the future. So actually getting yourself healthy now, or certainly coming out of lockdown, in preparation for potential another lockdown with COVID or any other thing that may be around the corner. You never know.
You know what? You're right, Dean, because a lot of people are banking on the vaccine as being the light at the end of the tunnel. However, the tunnel is potentially 10 years away. Mm-hmm. That's what they've said. The proper battle with COVID is going to be 10 years for us fully to either adjust as a world or to get vaccines good enough to deal with it. And it's something everyone's got to get in right with their heads, because social distancing is going to be here for such a long time more. Do you know, I'm in a bit of a unique position. For me, my mental capacity, I'm built for lockdown. I could, if it didn't change for the next 12 months, for me mentally, I would be absolutely fine, because I'm used to head down into a computer, concentrating and getting stuff done. And once you're in the zone, that's it, you're in the zone. But for family members, it's a hell of a lot more difficult. So all of a sudden, roles are reversed this time, where I've got to be the one who has got to be the chipper one. I'm not the chipper one. When it comes to me being the chipper one, then we know we're in trouble. It's one of those. But yeah, you're right. People need to be prepared for this to be protracted. If it's not, then fantastic. Absolutely. I would so much look forward to things getting back to a bit of how they used to be normal, but I'm fully prepared and mentally ready for things to be a little bit awkward for maybe a couple of years.
Yeah, the great point. Richard, if you want to jump in now, I'm going to have to pay, just because otherwise Dean will tell me off my sweet potato wedges and need to go into the oven now. So Richard, if you'd like to just quickly jump in, I'll be back in 15 seconds. So Richard, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think what we're talking about is what we can see and feel, i.e. health and the physical well-being. But what about the mental side that we can't see? We cannot see if somebody is mentally ill as a result of this. We cannot see that somebody is suffering from depression. What is depression? What are the signs of? I don't know. The only thing that I know is that somebody who is outspoken like Paul, as an example, or Val, who's hyper when he talks about his revital you, if they become when they become very quiet and don't say very much, that is a sign that we might be able to see. But if we don't know the person that well and they're that sort of character, how can we find out, and how can we help people with depression or stress? Because we can't see stress. That comes in many different shapes and forms.
To be honest, Richard, I mean, just to jump in on that, the big characters, unfortunately, if they've had stress or depression, know how to hide it. Now, I'm just going to jump in on this one. I think it's a great point to get people talking about this. I think it's a really good thing on that. Somebody's been a member who've known me for a really long while. Paul, do you remember the Indian chap who committed suicide? Remember?
Yeah. Yes. What was his name?
I can't remember. I saw
Manny.
Sorry?
Manny. Yes.
Manny Sandhu. He was, you would have said, the life and soul of any party whenever you saw. And he committed suicide with depression. And basically, I was part of a golfing network at the time. I mean, the golfing network's still there. I don't know how they fared through COVID. But you would never have guessed. Never would have guessed. And just a massive shock. But it's something to be aware of.
Very important to just reach out and talk to people regularly during this time. My best friend, suddenly we were talking on the phone. We talk once a week. He lives by himself. And I could just sense something was up. There was something not right, and he was getting quite desperate. Just sounded desperate on the phone. And in the end, I printed out an invoice. I thought, right, I'm going to go and do some work on he needed his computer fixing. Printed out an invoice. I went round his house, and we spent a couple of hours with a cup of tea and just talked to him. And I know I was breaking the COVID rules. And I thought to myself, find me £200. I'd rather have that on my conscience than something happening to him. And that was the most important thing about this. And I just saw the desperation. This is a guy who works by himself. His business has gone from £30,000, he's a sole trader, £30,000 a year to zero. He gets his universal credit about £90 a week, and that's it. He's got a mortgage to pay. He does not know where he's going to be tomorrow, let alone. And it just had to happen. And I had to do it. I couldn't live myself.
I mean, me and Val talked about this right at the start of lockdown 1.0. I don't know if people realise one of the reasons we run so many events is so there is constant communication. There is always something. There's always the community there. It's something there which we never realised so much is the reason why we ran. So, I mean, Val, you obviously covering this a lot. Well, both me and you have called members off the back of saying this person's struggling, because let's face it, I get to see everybody. Val's having a lot of events, but I know Val's talked to members, so I've talked to members as well off the back of it. But yeah, it's so important to just keep communicating. If it's just one thing that does take away today, just keep communicating with as many people as you can and just ask the questions. Val, do you want to jump in on this?
I was about to say, I think you're absolutely right on that. I think everybody's capacity to deal with situations is completely different. I mean, just as an aside, for the last probably 14 months now, and I mean every day for 14 months, I've been talking to one person for nearly an hour or more every day. And I know, had I not done that, he wouldn't be here. And it's just one of those things that you do to help people through. Now he's in a completely different space, totally different. You just can't describe where he is now compared to where he was. But that's because, as Jason said, you recognize that people, they're not the people they were. There's something wrong. And you just have to talk to them, and eventually it all comes out. I mean, for me, I've not said a lot tonight, so you could turn around and say, oh, is there something wrong with Val? Is he stressed? I know when I'm stressed because I stop eating. Trust me, I'm not stressed. So let's put that one to bed. But it is, everybody has different ways of coping. I think communication is important. The people I'm most concerned about are our children. That's who I'm most concerned about in terms of their mental well-being. And we don't know what effects this lockdown has had. I think Paul mentioned it a while ago that the term time for schools in a year is 39 weeks. And in that period so far, and we're heading towards a year, they've only had 12. So when you start to look at it from that sort of context, that's what I worry. I mean, we have our grandchildren twice a week, simply to give them something else to do, simply to give them another, outside of their normal environment, to take them away from home where they can do other things. And we're just very grateful that we can be in a bubble, but there are so many children that aren't able to do that. And I do worry for them. I think from an adult perspective, we just got to keep talking to each other, and there's no more you can do than that. But it has. But this second one has been a lot tougher. Yeah. There's no two ways about that.
Right.
So the announcement roadmap.
The fallout's going to come. It's probably going to come about 6 months after the vaccines have all been dished out, and the fallout's going to be job losses. As soon as the furlough stops, that's when I think mental health is going to take, a lot of people's mental health is going to take a hammering, because they're going to have mass amount of people are going to be.
I think you're right, Paul. I mean, we've got a couple of hands raised, some really good points raised on here as well. Moxie, absolutely, loved it until the darker winter days. Actually going out for a coffee. Yeah, I mean, I miss going out for a meal. It sounds silly, but the other day Dean told us off, but we actually went for donuts. So we found somewhere it was actually donuts, and we drove to be fair, it was 20 odd minutes, so not a million miles away, but we drove very quick. And I said, if we stopped, it is essential travel. It is essential travel because I needed those donuts, and I don't care what Dean says. I
Have you just admitted to us that it isn't essential travel? Isn't there
trust me, if I got pulled
isn't there
over
a
by the
bounty they
police,
pay you that if you
Hold on, it's
dob
food.
someone in?
was
Should we
essential
split
food.
it? If we all dob him in together, we'll all split it.
You can go for it. It was essential travel. Trust me, it was essential travel.
Essential food. It's essential food.
Correct. If somebody had tried to stop me and give me a ticket, they would have seen how essential it would have been as I rammed said donuts. No. Right. Anyway, Vicky, another great point from you. I'll come to you in a second. You have raised your hand. We're going to go to Martin first. Martin, you raise your hand there.
I am involved in my local Probus club, which is men from 50 up to 70 and beyond. And they were saying, I was in a meeting with them this morning in a Zoom call, and they were all saying that people of their generation, 60, 70 and beyond, they understand how much the younger generation have sacrificed to get through this. And I also said, I know how many people with self-employed businesses, the people that I deal with through the BSO and lots of other things, aren't going to cope with this. And they didn't really understand that until I mentioned it to them this morning. So there is a generational gap here, which has to be dealt with.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there.
Do you know what? Every generation has had something to cope with, and although we've not been asked to go and fight, this is our war.
Yeah.
This is the version of our war that we're all going through.
Great. I mean, Vicky, we'll go over to you now. You got your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in 2019, just before all this started, my niece killed herself. And yeah, it's a terrible shock and for everybody. And because of that, I went and sought some help, and I had this technique called havening. And I'm now very close to becoming a practitioner, and I would offer it to anybody. If you feel that you are struggling with overwhelm, or and you know anybody who's got PTSD or is suffering from any kind of trauma, please send them my way, because while I'm doing my case studies, I'm not charging for this. And also I wouldn't charge you guys for this either. And you can get, it sounds really airy-fairy if you were to look it up online, but it's a very physical therapy. And you can actually help people with PTSD, and you can help them get over it in a very short period of time. I mean, 1 or 2 sessions for that. So if anybody would like to try it, I'm quite happy to do that if you don't mind being a case study. But also going forward, once I'm qualified, I'm happy to do it for you guys, because it is a really great therapy. It completely changed my life, which is why I'm doing it. But yeah, for any kind of trauma, which is what's going to happen going forward, once everybody starts relaxing, that's when people will start to come out of suffering PTSD after this, because it is a trauma, and the smallest things can be traumas to some people, but this is massive. So there's going to be a lot of people suffering from trauma. So I'm happy to help, and the offer's there, and it's completely confidential, obviously. And you can do it over Zoom, and you don't even have to tell me what you're going through either. I don't need to know that. I just need to administer the therapy. So it's very, very confidential. So if anybody is interested in that, just get in touch.
So just jump in there. Thank you very much. I think you have a nice, I mean, John, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, thank you very much. Please feel free to share that, Vicky. Please, honestly, put it into the Facebook group, anything like that, and anything we can do to help anybody, it's more than happy to promote. More than happy to promote. So thank you for that. So Val, did you have another question you wanted to jump in, or do you want me to round off with a final question? I don't normally ask questions, do I?
I mean, I've got a question that's quite topical,
okay,
and really from today, and it is: do we think that some of the holiday firms are correct in upping their prices for stay-at-home holidays to cover the loss of Easter, etc. Is it fair?
Ooh, right. Okay. So here we're going to talk about holidays and being, yeah.
Holiday firms have absolutely taken the out of parents, and I have no sympathy for them, because every time we go to book a holiday during the school holiday, it costs a fortune, and they've been absolutely taking the out of us for years and years and years, and it's kind of, yeah.
The reason I'm asking the question is it would appear that a number of firms have doubled their prices compared to previous holidays at the same time.
Yeah, I've seen you, Michelle, by the way, so you don't have to keep your hand up because you're almost that aching, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So, I mean, Paul, I think you're absolutely right. I've just made a note. We have to put a bleep in at 7:49. So that'll be okay. So we got the time on there. So that's the next question, plus Paul swearing. You've done well, Paul. You've done very well. You've done an hour and 20. You've done an hour and 20. I'm
swearing comes out when I get emotional.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go. Val, I think it's a great question in terms of this case. To round it off, something a bit light-hearted plus something controversial. So, Michelle, you raised your hand there. It's a case of what's your viewpoint on this?
Well, I'm just going to rile Paul up more and say, is it just not a case of supply and demand? Why not put the prices up? People are going to be begging for a holiday right now.
Do you know what? There's putting prices up, and there's been absolutely criminally opportunistic. And there's a difference, and it's kind of like, yeah, that they have been hit, but look at all the years where they craned off us at the times when we could only take our holidays. Because it's cost a fortune holidays during school holidays, and as well, they priced a lot of people out of the market. And you do see some parents who can't afford to take their kids during the school holidays, so kind of have to risk it by taking them out a couple of weeks before or going at more undesirable times. So for me, they need to kind of get their act together and instead of doubling it, just keep their prices as normal. And because it's a lot of these companies that turn over billions, absolutely billions, that could take the hit.
Yeah. A lot of it will go towards hotels and their workers and the people that have been struggling as well. So it isn't just for the travel companies, it rolls down. So more.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I agree with, sorry, Brett. I was just going to say, I agree with kind of both, but then you think, and I think Paul's got a great point. I mean, I'm lucky. I wouldn't say I'm lucky I don't have children, so I'm not governed by school holidays. But the thing is, you've also now faced with a lot of people that have been out of work, or their business hasn't been trading, or they're on universal credit. So now all you've done is you've just priced them out of actually being able to go and do something to get them out of whatever, if they are struggling mentally, they now can't even afford to go on holiday. They may have struggled before, but now it's completely out their reach. So I know that they do need to make their money back, but I think they also need to look at what people are still going through and will be going through for a while in terms of actually being able to afford. I mean, I just think there has to be, I mean, we all know that it's always been mega expensive to travel, but I'm someone that I love going abroad. However, I have no plans now to go abroad for a while because I do want to plough the money back into the UK. But when you're faced with it being more expensive to travel and go on holiday in the UK, there is a bit of a, well, what do you do? I think everyone needs to earn the money. I get that, but they've also got to think about people affording the holidays.
Yeah, I think there's on here, there's a massive, it's pity Charlotte's not on, or some of the other marketeers on here. This is basically, there's two sides in there. There's profiteering off the example, and you are talking there's supply and demand. And yes, if you can sell something for 200 rather than 100, there's nothing wrong with that from a commercial perspective. But isn't there a massive PR thing here going, hang on a second, that room normally cost me 130 quid a night, is now 260 pound a night, or 300. There's some charging 500 for something that normally costs 150, 160. Do you think I will go back there?
Never in a million years.
It's a case of thinking, you know what? They're just taking the Moxie, put your fingers in your ears. I mean, I'm going to swear now. They are just taking the piss. This is straight. It's straight profiteering. You know what? It's the kind of thing which I basically just I'll just run down the brand. It's case.
Do you know what? They'll also have taken all of the government grants available to them, had all of the money. Now they want more. It's like, no, I'm sorry. We've all got to live in this world. And
I think I think you could probably do a massive PR piece, have a small increase, so make a little bit, obviously, make hay while the sun's shining. We just go, look, this is where we are. We don't want to do this. We have taken some losses and hits and things like that. Yeah, we're charging a tiny premium or whatever, or putting something extra in to justify it. I think there's massive things you could do that, and then just take the moral high ground, because these companies are doing that. To be fair, they'll come a cropper eventually. I'm sure they will, because I know to companies at the moment who are very anti-business. I'm being very vocal about it. I'm not going to mention names or anything like that. Very anti-business. Do you reckon they'll get my business again? Yeah, right.
It's like Ryanair. I mean, how dare they? You know, they've hardly given people even refunds back. And yet they're now, their costs of their flights, they now want to double, triple. And yet they weren't, they've kept people's money. I was just due to go to Spain with them in December, couldn't go, but they wouldn't, because the flight still went for Spanish nationals. I wasn't entitled to a refund, even though I actually legally wasn't allowed to go. Yeah. But they kept my 120 quid. And yet now they'll probably want to charge me triple. Will I ever fly with you again? No.
Well, that's been Ryanair all over ever since I started, wasn't it, really? Richard, you've raised your hand there.
Yeah, is it not worth us all contacting our local MP and saying, is it fair that the government are giving our money to these companies to keep them afloat, and then they're charging double, triple?
Because that's really going to be effective, isn't it?
Well, if they have the money back that they've given them, then
Richard, I appreciate what you're saying, but at the beginning of lockdown, Stelios took every single grant he could from the government, which amounted to millions and millions, and then paid himself and his shareholders their dividends.
Yeah.
And has anybody actually tried to contact their MP during this COVID? I have. I've written to my MP twice, and on both occasions I've got the same response back from her. And it basically, she might as well have just said, stop whining. It was so rude. And I posted it on the Forgotten page on Facebook, because that's I'm a member of that, and it was about limited company directors, and every single person in the country had been sent the same response. They've just been told, send them this. They probably sent it on a WhatsApp, probably got a WhatsApp group for whining people. This is what to send to people when they're whining.
Was that Conservative or Labour?
Conservative.
It's actually interesting that my MP is actually having a Q&A time, an open Q&A that I'm invited to. And I had to send them an apology. So I'd love to make it, but I couldn't, and I haven't had a response back. But I would have been on it tonight for that.
Do you want me to send you the response they sent me, and then you can send that to them?
I'd love to. I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's a case of, I don't think the political system will help too much on this one. Martin, you've raised your hand.
Contacting your MP does, excuse my language, absolutely because I'm involved with Camera, who send out letters that you can send to your MP about pubs being closed, about breweries being affected, and you just get an automatic reply back from your MP, which is effectively automated, and there is just no response whatsoever.
Yeah, it's.
It's not worth the paper it's written on.
No, it's a case.
Rather than going on holiday this year, I'd rather stay at home in my house and put money into the local businesses.
Yeah.
into the pubs, into the restaurants, and go out and eat every day. Go and do something every day, rather than those money grabbing.
I was going to say that's the answer. The only way you can do it is vote, as you might call it, with your feet. Yeah,
totally.
Just take action.
Vacation.
I'm promoting my 2 local micropubs through my Facebook feed, because one of them now does bottled beers and the other one does takeouts, because they can't have people in the pub. And I'm just talking about supporting independent beer with a hashtag and just saying, these are these places that are available. Go and use them, go and promote them, because if you don't go and promote them this time next year, they might not be here.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with you. It's a case of, and to be fair, if you told me the address of where it is, I would gladly support it. But unfortunately, Dean will tell me off for drinking beer. So it's all
right if it's organic, though, isn't it?
No, well, fortunately not. No, but it's okay as long as I don't tell him.
Now, remember, I've got no problem with beer. I enjoy beer myself, Brett. You know that.
It's moderation.
No. It's about if you're trying to achieve something. That's what I always say.
Correct.
Okay,
so if you keep on saying Dean will tell you off, why you got Dean on here?
Because he's a member, he's entitled to be. It's
accountability in the absence of me. That's what it is, isn't it, Brett?
Yes, absolutely. I don't mind. I don't mind. I'm using the 80-20 rule. I've been good 80% of the time. I've just been bad. I made sure when I was bad, I was really bad, really, really, really bad in a very short amount of time.
He called me and he told me he was having a McDonald's.
Actually, the other day I did. So it was bad. It was bad, but Dean knows all about that. I already confessed. So anyway, we're now reached 8 o'clock, so that is the end of it. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for all the people who posted questions. I think there's been some fantastic discussions. Jason and Moxie, obviously this is your first time seeing this style of event. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. It's a case of, it's not just about business, it's about building relationships, it's about having conversations, it's about the community as well. Please make sure, Jason, already know you're having lots of one-to-ones with members already, because people tell us. Moxie, please feel free to reach out or start having one-to-ones with members. You've got the details there, and that is where the real value lies. Vicky, just to let you know, favourite again for most on-screen nudity again. So it's a case of you're please make sure you contact me tomorrow or whichever, because I need to book. Emma's come back in, but Emma's asked me to contact you about the acupuncture session, so you can actually get your trophy at the same time. So that's the last trophy I need to give out. Richard, if you do see Viera, I haven't seen Viera for a bit. If you see Viera in the next couple of days, because she's probably going to be on your event on Friday. Yeah. Can you make sure she should have actually had them yesterday? It cost me a fortune to post them. It's a case of, but that's there. So hopefully you've all enjoyed the night. Thank you very much for taking part. Everybody on here has actually taken part. So hopefully you've actually looked at, like I say, you've enjoyed it and picked up some good takeaways. And just to finish on this, Dean's just put a comment on there. So if anybody wants any advice with things, let me know. He's not as bad as Brett makes it. I can be testament to that at all. Yeah. Sometimes I'm bad and I need telling off, so Dean tells me. So it's that's what we're paying for. Tell me when I'm in bad. So
can I chip in?
If it's quick.
Yeah. Did you like that joke I said this morning?
Was that this morning? I saw it tonight about Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Low about Tiger. You can't have Tiger Woods jokes.
No, you brought it up. You need to say it.
He's obviously great at putting and great at his short game, but his driving is absolutely terrible.
It's not even a good joke. Come on.
But did you like the way I put it in that can I chip in?
Yeah, I know.
Unless it's on video, we don't want to know.
Yeah, well, it is because we recorded it, so it's okay. It's absolutely fine. So it'll be fine. So, okay, ladies and gents, thanks very much for taking part. We do need to round up and trying to finish one on time for a change. So, in terms of that, thanks to Jason. I did actually read your email earlier. It's a case of we're doing our best. So, thank you very much for taking part. I'll see some of you in a couple of days. There are 2 spaces left on the meet and greet on Friday. If people want to be on there.
I'm there.
Brett,
I'm having my COVID injection on Friday, Brett, so I'll have to miss it.
No problem at all, Martin. Michelle, yes, you're on. Val, you've pointed.
yeah, can you delete me from Friday, please?
Okay,
I've got something else I need to do.
Can you scrub all that? We have now 3 spaces available for meet and greet, so but I'm sure they'll fill. Ladies and gents, thanks very much for attending, and I'll see you all soon. Oh, Paul, just to let you know, I have texted you that information. So see you all soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye now.